Buongiorno, hello everybody. I want to do a little introductory video for oil painting. Dave here. And first thing, I use either latex or vinyl gloves because it helps with the cleanup. Oil paint can be very messy and that usually deters a lot of people. So, oh, these are very cheap, not good. Anyways, we'll use one glove for now. First things first. So generally what we have our canvas. This is kind of my practice canvas. What I use to mix paint on, use a piece of glass or plexi. You can usually what, I was looking for it, but like old picture frames, get the glass pane because it's a lot easier to scrape off. This side I didn't clean too well, so I'm going to use this side. It's a lot cleaner. It's just easier to mix on because that goes for our next step where a lot of people think you mix oil painting with the brush when you first start. You don't. Use palette knives. If you don't have these, I suggest a butter knife will do because it kind of looks like butter. But I'll quickly demonstrate here. Put our paint. I'm in my basement here, so please apologize for any background noise you may hear. Sometimes there's a sub pump that goes off and it can be loud. Anyways, so yeah, you can mix your paint like so, and you want to always have a rag, cloth rag, to really wipe the oil down. Put another, and see, you want to kind of mix it almost like frosting, but don't eat it. It doesn't taste good. The other thing we want to get into is mediums. Now, you can get, there's lots of different things like you'll see linseed oil, and I usually get this Galkid Light where it's a good medium to where, oh, I didn't even open this one, to where basically you have a mix of your solvent and your linseed oil. It's kind of all mixed into it. But it'll make the colors flow a bit better. It'll also speed drying. It just kind of has a better flow. You know, usually I start with a brief sketch. I was going to try to practice an ear today because I need to practice them. So if you do a loose sketch of whatever, sometimes you can just start with like a darker paint. I get one of these for your turpentine or solvent. You can kind of do, you know, light sketches with this, and you're just mixing it with this very thin, very thin. If I were to kind of do the shape of an ear, do it that way. That's a little more advanced. So generally I start with a pencil drawing because it's a lot easier to erase. But one of the things, some artists like this when the pencil blends a bit with the paint. I generally don't. So a way to prevent that, you can get a fixative and you can kind of give it a light coat and wait for that to dry, because then when you start to apply your paint, the paint won't mix with the pencil. Yeah, see, that way the paint just kind of glazes over it. I'm not going to do the whole ear today because, again, this is mostly to help start. So yeah, you want to rinse your brush off in the turpentine, your solvent. Now, usually they don't sell turpentine now because of how toxic it was, and that's another reason you want to wear gloves to protect your skin. You know, wipe it down with a rag. But when you're done with your paint, you know, when you're finished with this, you want to scrape off. See how easy? You just use like a razor blade. So easy that kind of scrapes off. I get very lazy and I'll let this dry, because one of the other things you can do to save your paint, that's the great thing about oil because they don't dry as quick. You could save it for later. You can just put some plastic wrap, some Seran wrap over your palette, and that'll help delay the drying of the oil paint because it dries from oxidizing with the air. So if you keep that nice and tight, then it'll stay longer. Cleaning up with brushes, they sell a lot of brush cleaners. I find good old Dawn dish soap with just a little bit of water in your sink. Dawn does wonders. It's the best thing to get anything oil-based off. So it's environmentally safe. So I highly recommend this. Some other tips I found, the brand of paints, before we get into something more advanced for painting, there's a lot of different brands of oil paints. I find it doesn't make that much of a difference, but the one thing you don't want to be cheap on are your brushes. I find getting cheap brushes, you'll get the bristles will fall off and they'll be in your painting and you'll go mad. So try and get some good, nice brushes. I usually like the nylon ones. The very basics, the real practice of oil painting I've found that comes, you know, to developing your skills is that, again, this takes practice, where the three main things of an image are your tone, how bright and dark something is, your saturation, how much color is in it, and the hue, what color is it. And your mixing of colors, you really want to practice matching that. You know, you want to be able to eventually see that's like way off. And white and black, I didn't put any black on this. They can help control the saturation if you want to desaturate a bit. But you want to play around with just mixing it, and you want to eventually get it so that your brush, what's on your palette really matches what your subject is, you know, or if you have someone pose it for you, you want to get it as close as you can and kind of build up a palette here of the different colors you're going to be using. Anyways, that's kind of the, look, let's make a jelly bean. Happy Easter.